Hey, my loyal fans, thank you for joining me again. This is Gamerson, and I'm here today to talk about my top 5 favorite games of 2023. Now, these are games that don't necessarily have to have come out this year. They're just any games that I've played so far. And so without further ado, let's get to it. Bringing in a new storyline that takes place after the events of Sniper Elite 4, Elite 5 plays in similar fashion with almost all shared game mechanics, but with many welcomed additions. Guns now have a first-person view, which makes aim much more intuitive and gives it a Call of Duty-like presence. Elite 5 introduces the idea of workbenches throughout each map, where one can customize a weapon, upgrading everything like the barrel, muzzle, magazine, grips, stocks, and cosmetics. But what really stood out to me about Sniper Elite 5 is its glorious attention to detail. Maps are incredibly more vast in size, and the amount of time it must have taken to render the detail they have added is just staggering. And let's be honest, who doesn't like sneaking around with a sniper rifle blowing away Nazis from a mile away? Honestly, if you liked any of the Sniper Elite games up to now, Elite 5 will just continue to be icing on that cake. Look, I know what you're thinking. I can hear those loud sighs and violent gesticulations coming across the interwebs. You're just now playing Skyrim? Well, yeah. I wasn't into video games much back when Skyrim launched, and this year, I thought it a good idea to make up for lost time. So with that out of the way, you probably aren't too surprised this game ended up on another top of the games of the year list. Nonetheless, Skyrim is a tremendous open world game with lots of character variety and a deep commitment to storytelling, which is always my top consideration in any RPG. There's so much to celebrate here, it's hard to find a place to start. But what tipped the hat for me is how specific the details in the lore of this world are. Each character has his or her own unique backstory, which leads to and can lead to interesting side or main missions that often affect the overall trajectory of your choices. The richness and diversity of story on show here, coupled with a great voice acting, awesome dragon fights, magic and spell casting, deep and dark dungeons to explore, booty galore, all speak to why this game has and continues to be celebrated years after its release. If you're a beat-em-up fan, you're probably going to love this game. Well, let me qualify that first. If you love roguelike games or bullet hell twin-stick shooters where the action sparks in your face with only seconds to react, you're probably going to love this game. Off the heels of the PS5's popular success Returnal, this game takes that formula and delivers a non-stop kung fu extravaganza. There's a similar theme going on here this year with roguelikes, as you'll see in my number 2 favorite game of the year, and that's this desire to itch that scratch, better known as just one more run, enter 3 a.m. and 5 runs later. There's something about this game with its plethora of quick combos and satisfying kick-ass animations that really quenches your thirst to be the hero or heroine of a classic kung fu action film. The story is simple and effective, getting revenge on those who perpetrated the murder of your sensei years ago as a child. In a way, it becomes no more than a setting to make the world just believable enough, so it's the last thing you're pondering while the bodies continue to pile up. And again, the sticking point here with the combination of an action hack and slash beat 'em up is the roguelike element, which gives you 7 or 8 tries to finish a level or otherwise risk losing all progress and starting at the beginning. It's this consequence coupled with the ever-growing list of fighting moves and power-ups that are earned and stay with you for the duration that creates an addictive gameplay formula. This is the type of game that requires and feeds off of your desire to learn and get better, and the better you get, the more fun it really is. If you haven't played this indie gem, wait for it to go on sale, which it often does, and experience this unforgettable action romp. Watching a game like Pac-Man or Pong or Space Invaders can either usher in feelings of boredom, the glazing over of eyes, or it could bring that peculiar sense of nostalgia. For those who never experienced those games or grew up in that era, there was something simple and extremely satisfying about the game's mechanics. And it's that very thing that brings in my number 2 game of the year, Vampire Survivors. Honestly, I don't think I would have given this game a second thought if it wasn't for the insane word of mouth and many 5-star reviews this game has garnered. And because it was only $1 on sale, I figured I had to see what all the fuss was about. Remembering back, my first gripe was that it was too simplistic. I wanted to fire my weapon. The game doesn't allow you to fire the weapon fires for you. But as I began to play, the hours started to pass me by, and I realized it was a completely unjustified gripe, as I would be admitted to the ER for a nasty case of triple joint thumb carpal tunnel. In the game, as the amount of time goes on and you're able to survive wave after wave of killer monsters and freaks, so does its enjoyment. I'd say this game's roguelike elements work even more so in its favor, as no 2 runs are ever the same. This is large in part due to the never-ending map you can traverse, as well as the random, procedurally generated pickups and power-ups. It then becomes this game of how long you can survive, and the prospect that maybe the next run, with better power-ups, might yield an even more successful playthrough. There's also a number of different characters with various strengths and weaknesses, which switches things up and adds some freshness to your strategy. To me, it's insane that this game is as good and successful as it is. It's such a simple idea. And that's just it. That's what I'm starting to realize. Games are more than what they look like on the surface. It's what's happening below that surface which keeps you coming back. And Vampire Survivors has this idea in spades. If you haven't tried this game and you're a fan of bullet hell twin sticks or roguelikes, you have to try this. This could easily turn into a 5,000-word essay on what it means to play perfection. And perfection couldn't be any closer to the mark than 2021's It Takes Two. There's so much to say here, it's actually hard to know where to start. I guess I'll just gush the honest truth. It Takes Two is the best co-op game that I've ever played. We had a glimpse of this genius in 2018's A Way Out, where you play as 2 dudes working to elaborately bust out of prison. But Hazelight Studios completely smashed the concept of cooperative gameplay in It Takes Two. Every puzzle, every obstacle you face is designed to be completed together. And what works so well with that concept is how the story naturally informs every aspect of its cooperative play model. In the cooperative game space, what usually happens is there's 1 or 2 objectives that must be completed by getting from point A to point B in a series of linear actions. Take a game like Borderlands 3, for example. This model works, but what it doesn't enforce is this idea that each player has a valuable part to play in how that objective unfolds, or to which the success of that objective is achieved. And honestly, it's a bit hard to explain without playing the game. But the grand idea here is that the game design is so good, so off the charts friggin' brilliant, that the 2 players are one side of a simple equation. To illustrate, the equation 4 + 5. Each character represents one side of the equation. In gameplay speak, that means each character represents a set of roles or obstacles to fulfill one side of the equation, and together create a successful and valid answer. It's this very idea and its implementation that sets this game apart from just about anything else out there, at least that I've experienced so far. Story and game logic aside, the game just exudes, drips with developer love, as each nook and cranny of this created world holds an unfathomable amount of detail. Not only that, but the uniqueness of each map or world you explore brings to thought nostalgia from the days of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and, in my opinion, completely redefines what it means to have fun in a video game together. I haven't been so easily blown away by a game since my first time playing the stellar Horizon Zero Dawn. It's the complete vision and mastery of craft on display that is second to none. I absolutely cannot wait for Hazelight Studios' next game. Well, there you have it, guys. That's my top 5 games for 2023. I can't wait to see what comes out in 2024 and what games I'm going to have so much fun playing. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. Thank you for liking my videos. Thank you for subscribing. Please leave a comment in the comments section, and we'll see you all in 2024.